Thanks for watching this video on the Rask Network. While you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get videos each and every day on business, finance, investing, and so much more.
Welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm joined by Jordan. Jordan Kidis, how are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, good. Jordan Kidis is good. He's back. It has been a while. I feel like we haven't done a podcast episode in ages. I think the last time,
it's been a long time.
Yeah, probably a month or so. I was down in Melbourne, so it's been too long.
Yeah, you guys have been busy at Grace Pace.
We have. It's been a good couple of months. Daniel welcomed a beautiful little girl.
Yay.
So it's just me at the moment holding down the fort. But yeah, it's all good. All good things happening.
How's it going? How's holding down the fort going for you?
Good. We made a new hire for a senior manager position, so that's really helped a lot. But yeah, just trying to get a lot of things done before Christmas, as are many other business owners. So I'm sure we're all in the same boat. What about yourself? What's been going on?
Yeah, same. We've been busy, which has been nice. We've had a few new sort of like brand builds. I think when I spoke to Owen a couple of weeks ago, we did an episode on like rebranding, and it's kind of been a bit of a focus for us. But we've also had a really huge interest in like CRM and like project management automation in the last couple of months. I think maybe business owners are sort of getting to the end of the year, realizing that there's an opportunity to, improve their efficiencies, streamline a whole lot of work. And then there's obviously the excitement to be like, let's just get it done. Let's lock this project in before the end of the year, which has been good for us, but it's been a lot of conversations, which has been nice. Yeah,
good stuff. We're going through the branding with yourself and the Inflection group.
Yeah.
So really looking forward to had the first iteration today, and that was sick. So really keen to see what comes up, to be honest.
Yeah, Sophie and the team have done such an awesome job with that.
Yeah. So
it's so nice.
We're given full design control. So we're like, you do whatever you reckon, because we have no idea. Our logo was Daniel 2.5 years ago.
Hey, it got you to where you are now.
It did. But it looks like an accountant did it. So
yeah.
Well, full respect to Dan and his design aspirations. Stick to accounting, champion.
Well, today we're kind of doing a bit of like a reflection, a year in review, like lessons that we've learned through running business, but also running the accelerator program. And I think through those conversations and through those reflections, we've sort of realized that we haven't done a really deep dive into what is Inflection, why it started since the beginning of the year. So I'm really excited to talk about it. And I think it's going to provide a lot more clarity to a lot of people that have been listening. But also just to talk about things that we've learned ourselves and what we could have done better and what we want to do in 2025 and what we're looking forward to.
Yeah, for sure. Keen to dive in. I mean, I know one of the first things that we're going to go through is why. And I think that's super important as a business owner, why we do what we do. And the Inflection community, in my mind anyway, is a place where business owners can go and learn, and not just learn, but ask those questions. Because a lot of the times it's those one or two questions that you really need clarity on. And that's it. It's once you get those answers, you can go away and then start to implement these things. So for me, that's a lot about the why. And I think it's just about building on that for next year as well, building that community and building out the sessions. So that's what I'm really looking forward to next year.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And I know you guys, I was kind of a late addition into it. You guys sort of started Inflection at the beginning of the year, and I kind of like came in halfway through. But yeah, I agree. I think it's the why behind it, or, since coming into it, the why behind it for me was just, to have that like support and mentor that I think like a lot of people don't have when they're starting a business. They don't have the ability to, just talk to someone about an idea that they're about to make, or that they're thinking, a decision that they're thinking about doing, to kind of round table potential solutions, or even just to figure out like what could go wrong. I think that's so important, just to essentially have someone there just to be like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing it at the right time? Am I investing my energy in the right spot? And then just the actual, like, I guess, legitimate education component of cash flow, finance, like all those things that a lot of people get into business because they're passionate about something. It's not necessarily because they're great at finance or they have a financial literacy. And I think having access to that sort of knowledge at the beginning of your business, or at any stage of your business, obviously, but particularly at the beginning of your business, can be like a huge game changer.
Yeah, 100%. And it's having those people to bounce ideas off. And I've spoken about it before where in my friendship group, my mates, there's a few of us that do run our own businesses, and we catch up every Friday and we go to the pub and share our war stories of the week. And it's things like that where we took for granted, where it's like, yeah, we're exchanging ideas. This is what happened this week. What do you reckon? What should I do there? And we'll workshop these ideas. And it's just, again, it's not like we're sitting down and this is what we need to do. We're just having a chat. And I think it's something like that is what we really wanted Inflection to be. Maybe minus the steak, palmy, and beer that we have. But yeah, I think having that community and having someone to bounce ideas off is such a good tool to have in business. So shout out to Simon and Daniel, who we catch up with every Friday. I know Simon listens to every episode.
Oh, that's so nice. Sounds like, yeah, I know we've spoken about it a couple of times, but you've got this like awesome network of people that you get to do that with.
For sure.
But yeah, so maybe, George, let's kind of go back to the beginning. Like, let's talk about sort of why Inflection started, what the three of you, and when I say the three of you, obviously yourself, Owen, and Daniel, were thinking, what kind of pain points you saw, like what challenges were out there that you kind of were hoping to alleviate with the business and the program.
Yeah, I think it's mainly two sides to it. It's the educational piece, and not just in finance, but in marketing, sales, operations, and having a central point where you can go and find this knowledge. I mean, as a business owner myself, it's only been, I think, about 3 years now. We've gone through these problems and had these growing pains. And I think if we had a program or we had somewhere we could go and get those questions answered, it would just help accelerate growth and not just growth from a financial point of view, but from an organizational point of view, from a brand point of view, and help with staffing and all of these different things that come up in business. So I think for us and for me anyway, it was about that education piece and also the community aspect too. I think the community aspect, and I know we're going to touch on it a bit later, but we started with the Q&A. And then we had the Q&A, and then we had the Techspert stuff that we're doing at the moment. And I just think the sessions that I've run, they've just been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of like things that you wish you had in those early stages, obviously you had Daniel, which was awesome. You kind of had that person that you could roundtable things with. But is there something that you felt in your own kind of business journey that you were missing?
It's a tough one. I think I was really lucky in having a business partner where we could workshop things, but you don't know what you don't know. I mean, there were times where we would spend money on things that we probably shouldn't have because we're learning as well. We did enroll in a couple of programs here and there for a really niche thing in the accounting space. That was a learning curve in itself to try and just surround ourselves with like-minded business owners. So we have gone through that ourselves and learned what we teach. So I think, sorry, a bit of a tangent, but I think, probably community and having someone that's been there already answer questions for things that would come up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you kind of touched on that, but you also sort of touched on a little bit earlier when you were talking about like the why. I think the other thing that we were really focused on in Inflection is kind of your why, like your personal why. And obviously people start businesses for lots of different reasons. And I think sometimes business owners, I know myself, like quite often you can sort of get caught in the day-to-day, you lose sight of that vision or like the purpose or like why you started the business, and you get bogged down in, the execution of the work, not keeping track of finances and all these kinds of challenges that obviously pop up. And I know that Owen says it quite a bit. I think it's Owen that says it, but your business's most important asset is you, and it's something that you need to be able to protect through so many different ways. Protect through obviously setting up your own boundaries and understanding kind of what your limits are, but also protect through like education and make sure that you are as up to date as you possibly can be in lots of different areas of business. Protecting social life, your romantic life, friends, partnerships, family, like all of these kinds of things. And I think that's something that through the Q&A, like you said, that we're going to touch on a little bit later, but that is something that we talk about. And it's something that we kind of ask people to rate themselves on at the beginning of the program, at the end of the program, which gives individuals, also gives us as coaches, but it gives individuals kind of like a tangible result at the end of the program as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think just to touch on the why, it's an interesting one. I think it's a lot of give and take as well, in terms of sometimes there's more time with the family, and sometimes it's, those big work days, and sometimes it is getting caught in the weeds. And I think it's very normal, in my opinion anyway, in experience. Like sometimes you pedal to the metal and you do those big days, but sometimes you can wind down. So I think just normalizing that too, that there's no set formula on how it should be. Everyone's different, and some people want to be able to be in business just to make money, and that's fine. And some people want to do it so they have time to spend with family. That's also fine. So there's no cookie cutter approach in business. And I think the community has made that clear as well, that everyone's different and everyone can take something from people's different, whether it's personalities or just the way that they run their business. There's always little golden nuggets that you can pick up along the way.
Yeah, that's huge. I totally agree with you. 100%. So I guess maybe we make sense to kind of dive into what Inflection actually is, what the program is. How would you describe Inflection?
Elevator pitch.
Elevator pitch.
I think it's a program where, again, you can go in, get the education on what you need to do, which we're forever building, but also the community where you can go and get your questions answered. And I'll use the example of the Techspert sessions that I do, where I had someone come in and they were thinking about purchasing an investment property or whatever it was. And we spoke about structure, and I shared my screen and I built out that structure live then and there. Same goes for yourself with the marketing side of things, and James and Petra, where people can ask questions. So I think it's just very well-rounded, where there's that educational piece and there's also that community base where you can go in and get your questions answered.
Yeah. Nice. I like it. Good elevator pitch.
Yeah, probably a bit long for an elevator pitch and a bit bland.
That's all right. Maybe you're going pretty high up.
Yeah. You tell me. How would you explain it?
Yeah, I think similarly, I think I would say it's a kind of an all-in-one business coaching holistic growth program. And I feel like there was a lot of like buzzwords in there, but I think it really is sort of like a one-stop shop that you can go to upskill and develop and educate yourself on how to successfully run a business, how to scale a business, but also to get that community support. And I think that all of that is achieved through the live weekly coaching sessions that we do, through the Techspert sessions, which is really one-on-one tailored feedback to like particular challenges in your business, but then also the asynchronous, like self-paced course that people can move through. And that's, like you said, it's just like content is consistently being added. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Cool, I agree.
Yeah, I think the course, the consistently adding to the course is something that part of our reflections and things that we've been thinking about is something that we keep working on. But I think the other thing that's probably really unique to the program is the Inflection Operating System that is essentially how we help businesses implement a certain system in their business, which we've coined the Inflection Operating System. But it's a unique kind of tried and tested system that has worked across different industries, different companies, everything from accounting to marketing to coaching to kind of finance, that really helps business owners escape the day-to-day, have automated systems in place for themselves, for their staff, and all of that can help you to 3 to 5 extra revenue, strategically within sort of 6 to 12 months, depending on what your cash flow looks like.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So maybe what we do is just run through what people get as part of like a standard week in the program.
So we do live weekly sessions, and they're split up between 2 sessions, where the first one is, how would you word it? Would you say that we go through a piece of content or go through a piece of, I guess, something that you can action in your business? So just to think, the most recent coaching call was, the one that I did anyway, was offshoring, I think it may have been. And we just ran through what it is, how it works, the different ways to do it. We'd present, and then people can ask their questions. Now, the second part of the live coaching is the Techspert sessions, which I think they replaced our Q&As. They're my personal favorites anyway, and they got to keep you on your toes as well, because you get asked some prickly ones sometimes. So we, they can be very specific too. So we'll use us as an example to play it out, where let's say you were the Techspert talking about marketing. I can come to you and say, hey, Zara, Grayspace, we've tried to do our own Facebook ads and it just hasn't been working, we don't know what to do, I can then share my screen and you can walk me through some stuff that you think I'd benefit from at Grayspace, whether it's changing the ad copy or whether it's changing the creative or if the landing page sucks. It's about that and getting really specific. And another example could be, I don't know, what could be another example? Maybe email marketing, where we're struggling with setting it up. Again, screen share and you can talk through it. So I think they're super beneficial. I learn lots from them myself when you're running them. So I think they're the two coaching, that's the coaching sides of the program. And maybe I'll throw it back to you to run through the other side of the program.
Yeah, totally. I agree on the Textpert sessions. I think they're just so valuable. Yeah. One that I found super valuable was Owen running through implementation of CRM systems and how you can do lead scoring for different people depending on different actions that they've taken within your business. So then if you have a sales team, then when it kind of comes to them to follow up with potential leads, they kind of understand how, warm or how far through that pipeline that particular person is. So you kind of know what conversation to have with them, what education they might need, kind of where they've spent time, where they've shown interest in your business. So yeah, I think the Textpert sessions are incredible. And it was something that we kind of unlocked a little bit later into the program.
Yep.
But yeah, I think the other thing would be the community network, which I know we've spoken about a lot on the podcast already, but I think it's something that, similarly to you, I was lucky that I came into this partnership with you guys. And so I've had really strong, solid support throughout the program or throughout kind of the business journey. But there's so many people that just don't have it. I just think the community component and the networking component and the support component that you get through this community of, over 100 business owners at the moment is just so invaluable. Because it's someone that you might have, we've got kind of 3 or 4 core groups, and there's quite a big group of like allied health professionals in the community at the moment. And so obviously there's different challenges that they face within their business that they all face a similar thing. So when we were talking about like CRM systems and implementation and automation between kind of people signing up to or requesting a booking on your website and how you can follow up and kind of do email marketing, they all struggled with a particular component because the software that is recommended to use for your booking system doesn't connect to it. You have to use external integrations. So it's just something that a bunch of people that all face the same challenge, that sometimes when you're alone in your business without that business support, without a business partner, you don't know that it's a challenge that's quite common or that other people are facing. And I think that's such a core component of the community and such a huge benefit that you kind of go into it and you'll be like, oh, I'm not alone. I think that's such a huge part, is like being a business owner, doing that journey can be so lonely if you don't have that community. So I think the community part is massive, and it really complements what people are learning through the live sessions or through the Textpert sessions.
Couldn't agree more.
And then obviously there's a course, the program itself, which is kind of that DIY sort of move at your own pace. We've set it up like that. So, we're all business owners. Business owners are busy. So you can kind of move through it at your own pace when it makes sense, but it covers all of those key areas of business from sales, marketing, but it also goes into like tech, automation, team management, performance management, which, again, there's just a lot of that out there. Sometimes if you are a new business owner, or maybe you've been in operation for a couple of years, you're starting to bring on your first few people, what that step should look like, how to really onboard someone effectively, how that impacts your overall business, and how to make sure that you're giving them a certain amount of work, how to make sure that you've got the cash flow or the cash runway in your business to bring someone on board. All of these things that I think either business owners think about or they don't think about. It's just a way to shed light.
Yep, perfect. Couldn't summarize it any better myself. And the good thing about that too, and just to touch on what you said about business owners being super busy in the program, and we are still building, constantly adding. But if you know that your issue is getting leads, well, you can jump to the marketing training and go through the Facebook ads and the Google ads stuff. But if you know that your issue is staff retention, then you can jump into the HR side of things too. So again, you can pick and choose, and there's you don't need to just go from the start to finish. You can jump around if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you kind of struck a thought as you were talking about. Sometimes you might think that, I need more leads to grow my business. But the truth is, until you have like a repeatable and scalable system in place, for you and for your staff or for your team, the number of leads doesn't actually make a difference because you could get a whole bunch of an influx of leads into your business. But if you don't have the systems, you don't have the sales team, you don't have the ability to meet the demand, what's the point? You're probably going to lose a lot of business. You're not going to be able to service it, or you're going to do a pretty crappy job. And that's all going to hurt the reputation of your business and the ability for you to scale in the long term anyway.
For sure.
So I think that that's also a really important thing that a lot of business owners probably realize as they go through the program as well, is that maybe what you think your initial challenge is in business, maybe there's something else, or maybe you need to check under the hood a little bit more and there's something else that we need to investigate and diagnose first.
For sure.
Cool. So yeah, I mean, maybe a year in review was kind of what we were talking about and some of the biggest lessons that we've learned through running Inflection. What are some of your biggest lessons, or what were some of your biggest takeaways from the year?
The time zone thing was a bit of an issue. I remember the day daylight saving clicked over, and I had this I was running a session, and there was heaps of chat about it in the community on the post that I did, and like 4 people showed up, and I was like, oh, that's a bit weird. And then I realized, everyone in Queensland, it's like 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or whatever it was. So that was a bit of an issue when daylight savings hit. I think getting more guests is something that we'd probably like to do.
Yeah.
We had a guest on that spoke about scaling her business, and forgive me, but I can't remember her name.
Ingrid Cole.
Boom. There it is. She was fantastic.
Yeah.
So I think having more guests, but not just having more guests, but giving the community a chance to ask their questions. So I think, that's something to strive towards as well. What about yourself? What do you think?
Yeah, time zones, definitely. I think we all kind of felt that one. And I think it was just something that maybe we hadn't sort of realized. But then in place of that, we actually realized that the Techspert sessions were going to work out better, which took place instead of being at 8 a.m. on a Friday, which ended up being, 6 a.m. Or 7 a.m. in Queensland. But then if you're in Perth, it was like, 5 a.m.
Yeah.
But then we replaced it with the Techspert sessions, which is now Monday at 2 p.m. And it fits everyone's schedule regardless of time zones. So, I think it was something that was a good thing to come up against so that we could come up with something better. I think your point about guests is really interesting because I think when Ingrid did come and talk to the community, the amount of feedback that we got was just like overwhelming. And even though she focused on a specific industry, she worked in allied health space, so much of what she spoke about was so relevant to so many businesses outside of allied health, like whether it was you worked in a service-based industry, whether you're a Sparky, whether you work in, consulting or professional services, her lessons were just like invaluable across the board. So yeah, I think there's just a lot of opportunity to bring more guests in. And I think going back to our kind of like holistic component of like wanting to focus on more than just business, I think we could bring in other guests that talk about, mental health and setting boundaries and how we can really kind of focus on, I guess, going back to that statement of like you're your business's most important asset, how we can really protect that asset and navigate those different kind of, as you said, like those different kind of waves of business. Sometimes it's crazy busy and you work until late hours and sometimes you get to clock off and you don't have to work on a Saturday. But it's all just part of it. And I think there was an episode that we did with Beth Wilson from St. Jack a little while ago too, back in August. And she said that if you're going to start a business or you're thinking about starting a business, then make sure you get something or you go into something that you're super committed to, but also that you're willing to do for a very long period of time and you're willing to try really hard at, because there are things that you're going to have to sacrifice. That's just a reality. And just knowing that there's going to be components of your social life that might change as a result of kind of growing and scaling and starting a business.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to address that. Probably gone off on a bit of a tangent here, but you always see these things about how, you want to work the minimum hours and maximize your time to yourself. But I think this whole attitude or thing about just, working 2-3 hours a week or 1 day a week, in my opinion anyway, I don't know if that's healthy. I think as a business owner myself, like I said at the start of the episode, there are ups and downs, and it's just so normal. It's so normal to have those weeks where you need to work 60 hours or 70 hours, and sometimes you're going to get to the end of that day and think, what am I doing? What is the point of this? And these are all normal thoughts. It's normal to feel that way some weeks and some days where you do consider, is it worth doing? So I think just normalizing that and being okay with that, because business isn't smooth sailing all the time, and it can get very stressful, and it can affect your personal life and your business relationships as well. So I think keeping a cool head is important.
Yep.
And just addressing that it's normal. It's normal to be down, not down, that's not the right word to use, but I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. But it's normal. It's normal to come in waves.
Yeah, and it fluctuates, and you'll have feelings of like ecstatic highs where you've had an absolutely stellar week. All of those amazing clients, all potential leads that you spoke to have just signed on for a project or for some service work or whatever it might look like, and flying high, and it's so exciting. And then you have those weeks.
The phone rings.
Yeah.
And your day's ruined.
Yeah. Or it's like, cool, all of that work comes in. You as a business owner actually have to get in and do it because you don't have enough capacity in your team. But you knew that the winning the work was more important than not winning the work. So it's just, like you said, it's just a juggling act the whole time.
And I think that's where the calls can help, because sometimes it just takes someone that's not in the picture in terms of your own business, like an outsider looking in, that can really just help push, just a small push in the right direction that can really start a chain of positive things, of positive reactions to those little steps that you do and those little improvements that you make in your business. So yeah, bit of a tangent. Don't even know if it made sense, but yeah.
It did. Yeah. I mean, it kind of goes into what worked. You know, what we're really proud of, and what we enjoyed the most. And I think, it is the coaching sessions which bring all of the community together. You know, the things that Owen puts in on a Friday, the GBB, you good, better, best, or something like that. What went well, what could have been better, and what was the worst kind of thing. I can't remember exactly what the acronym stands for, but it's along those lines. And I think just going back to sort of normalizing that, like having that frequently happen where you've got, you know, potentially 15 or 20 people that are saying, actually, this is what my week looked like. This was the one really great thing. This was really hard. And this was like impossible to deal with. And I could have done it better. And I think just being exposed to that is so important. It just kind of helps to stabilize all of those fluctuations.
Yeah. And those thoughts like, okay, cool. So I'm not the only one in the trenches. It's normal.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And then I think, you know, some of the things that we want to do next year is, obviously we've already spoken about bringing more guests in, but, and you mentioned kind of adding in some more course content. Could you talk to me a little bit about, and maybe just tell people what sort of course content we're wanting to bring into the program and what you're wanting to bring into the program?
Yeah, I think getting really granular on how to do things and how to implement things yourself. So I'll refer to that example I use with the Facebook ads, but it's how to sort of jump in and actually do it yourself, from setting it up to what your review process is and things like that. And from the finance perspective, Daniel's got a really good cash flow session that he's done, but just building on that. So like, okay, how to interpret a profit and loss statement? How does cost of goods sold work? What should I be looking at if I'm an e-commerce business or if I'm a service-based business? I think that type of content. But a big one that started to trend is the whole CRM and the automation side of things. And it's probably best to let you chat about this, because I know you've been doing a lot of it lately.
Yeah, no, totally. It's just something that I didn't expect to be such a key or a hot topic in the program, but it is. And I think it just sort of goes back to how can business owners improve the efficiency in their day-to-day or in streamline processes, whether it's using CRMs, AI to kind of improve and reduce workload so you can kind of focus in a different area. And I think when we talk about like CRM and automation, one of the key areas is through like really administrative tasks. You know, how many conversations have we had with business owners that they don't have, someone inquires about a business, someone inquires about your services. There's no kind of system in there other than it just going directly into email address of them being able to track what happens from that point. And so it's like what stage that, you know, quote unquote lead is at, when the last date of contact was, what conversations been had, who's spoken to them, have they come in for a certain service, do they need to have their, blocks, their drains realigned or whatever it might be. Are they looking for tax advice or, whatever that kind of thing is that they're looking for? Yeah. What is the quote that you've given them? So what is the potential amount of money that's associated with that lead, and what's your follow-up process like? So then, if you lose it, what is your conversion rate? I think all of these things that independently you kind of don't really think about until you think about what the bigger picture could be and how that can inform your business going forward. And I think that's like the key part is, and maybe why people get so excited about CRMs and why it's such a hot topic, is what can come as a result of that. Really understanding a particular process of your business, how to improve it. And it's got a direct correlation to cash flow as well. As a business owner, sure, you could spend your time manually going in and like updating notes and changing information. But if you've got your Calendly booking system connected to your project management software or your CRM or your lead software, that's also connected to like your invoicing software. So when you send out an invoice, the price of that invoice or the cost associated with that is then dropped into your lead pipeline and it's updated with that particular contact. Just the visibility is insane.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And also with the automations and all of these buzzwords that are happening at the moment, it's not just from that initial client journey phase as well, but also from an operations perspective too, and being able to streamline as much of that as possible. So that's also something to touch on.
Yeah, for sure. I think the other thing that could be really cool to talk about is like the end of year survey that we've just done with people.
Yeah. What did you think of the results?
Yeah, I thought they were really interesting. So essentially the survey that we've sent out to people or that Owen sent out to people was to kind of get a bit of an understanding of, cool, end of the year, you've gone through the program. How are you now feeling about cash flow in your business? How are you feeling about marketing? How are you feeling about automation? Again, going back to kind of like, how would you rate your personal life? How would you rate your social life? All of these things that are so important in keeping us who we are and making sure that we're operating in our best. And I think that, it's so interesting that generally across the board, everyone was stoked with their team. Yeah. That was like a key thing, which is awesome because, we've just spoken about how important it is to have support around you. And so the key part one of the key things was, team was a massive one. Automation in business was still a huge gap, which kind of informs where we should focus next year.
Yeah, I think it's hard as well because yes, there are tools to make that stuff easier, like Zapier and is it Make or Maker, whichever the one that you're a fan of, and but it's becoming easier, but it's also becoming a bit more complex as they keep adding all these functions and features. So I think it is definitely something to build focus on because something can break and then it's a nightmare. But yeah, a bit of a tangent, but for sure.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think the other thing that maybe took us by surprise a little bit was like everyone's physical health wasn't amazing. So there's a lot of like either sitting at desks or a lot of obviously workload. And we both sit at desks all day, every day. So, whether it's introducing walking meetings or, ways that we can kind of incorporate some way of getting outside as frequently as possible. I thought that was an interesting one. I don't know, was there anything else that was highlighted that kind of took you by surprise, or what did you think of the results?
I thought it was interesting. Cash flow was interesting too. I mean, we've seen that across the board where people have started to struggle a bit from businesses, and I'm sure personally as well. But in my opinion, people just adapt and you don't want to just sit around and be reactive, but be proactive with this type of stuff. So I think from a cash flow perspective, yes, it is getting a bit tight, but a lot of these business owners that are moving forward and still making progress aren't just sitting there, not feeling sorry for themselves. That's not the right word, but they're just pushing ahead with the times. Yeah, we know it's quiet, but we're going to try X or we're going to try Y. So we're going to keep pushing forward. So cash flow was an interesting one.
Yeah. What are you most excited about for 2025? It's a very loaded question.
That is a lot of questions. Where should I start? In terms of Inflection or just, in life?
Why not all of it? All of the above.
All right. All of the above.
As he takes off his glasses. Let's get real here.
Let's get real. Let's get serious. I think for next year, from a business perspective, it's not so much about growth from a revenue point of view, but refining internal processes and focusing on things moving along smoothly, internal processes and how things get done. Just speaking about Grayspace here. And yeah, building out more systems. I think from a personal level as well, maybe to focus a bit more on health, because if you don't have health, you don't really have anything. And I saw a quote the other day that you don't really have a problem until you have a health problem. So just sort of alleviating any of that coming up. And yeah, that's it. Just have a happy, healthy 2025. Go on a holiday.
Love it.
Yeah, go on a holiday. And yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, nice.
What about you?
Exciting.
Yeah.
In Inflection,
sorry, I just spoke very selfishly there.
No, it's good. That's what I asked you, what you're excited about. But yeah, for me, I think what I'm excited about for Inflection, I think is growth, both revenue, but also through like relationships. I think excited to have like legacy clients that we've been working with for almost 12 months now. Again, the business relatively new in terms of business, but to kind of be at a point where we have some clients that have been with us since the beginning is really exciting. So growth in that respect, growth in our team, I'm excited. I know it's going to happen, but to hire some more people, I think will be awesome. And then in personal life, I think, staying happy and healthy. I feel like I've had a somewhat balanced life for the last 12 months, and just making sure that I keep those boundaries in place, I think, for as the business grows and scales. I think that's kind of it.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of a wrap up on today, and a wrap up on 2024 as we've kind of finished out with what we're excited about for 2025. But I guess just to recap, some of the things that we sort of spoke about today was obviously the benefits of the Inflection program, and kind of why it was initially started and how it's really important to have that network and that community of people around you that can really support you and help you get there, but also through that education piece, how it is just so important to stay educated as a business owner. But then I think the other thing that's probably a neat little one to talk about as well is every year, it's been in running for 1 year, but at the start of the year, you guys did an offer, like a once a year offer for Inflection. And we're going to do another one. We only are ever going to do one a year, which is just kind of like a special offer, discounted rate for 12 months access. So if you are interested in Inflection, every access comes with a 30-day free trial anyway. So you can always jump in, check out the program, attend a few coaching calls. If you like it, then you stick around. But we are doing our kind of once a year offer at the end of the year. If you're interested, there is a link in the show notes that you can sign up to the waitlist. So then when we do announce our offer, you will get first access to it. So thanks everyone for listening. Thanks for tuning in. I think there is one more episode this side of Christmas. If you're there, awesome. If not, have a really wonderful Christmas. Thanks so much for chatting today, Jords.
Pleasure.
Thanks for watching this video on the Rask Network. While you're here, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get videos each and every day on business, finance, investing, and so much more.